Sunday, everybody. Welcome to our live video. We have a special guest today. This is Dr. LCCO. Denise Gonzales is here with us today. Hi, Denise.
Hi there.
Hi, thank you so much for being on. We have a topic that's a little bit can be kind of hairy to talk about physicians. Are physicians coachable? And this is a topic that I want her to talk about because she has a lot of experience in physician leadership, both individually and with an organization. Dr. Gonzales is the medical director of the Adult Medical Specialties and Neuroscience in Albuquerque, New Mexico. She's a practicing physician in critical care and pulmonary medicine, and her mission in New Mexico has been to improve the healthcare of all New Mexicans, which I'm amazed and listening to from my colleague and who knows her very well. She wants to change the healthcare of all New Mexicans by doing things such as telemedicine so that they can reach out to communities in rural areas and really focus on population health. So thank you so much for all that you do. So
Thank you.
let's talk about, let's go right to the topic. Denise, what are your feelings about physicians being coached? I know more and more people are accepting of it, but still there's a lot who don't know. And many physicians step up, but there are physicians who probably could really use it and don't even know how great their potential is. So
Right.
let's start there.
Okay. Well, I think on the surface, when you ask someone if physicians are coachable, they may answer no, we're just not coachable. But I think that they're considering the physician already in a mature state, already had been practicing for a while. But when you think back to it, when we were in college and in medical school residency, we were being continuously coached. Uh, Unfortunately, a lot of that coaching was for an individual sport. We saw ourselves as the individual playing in the sport of medicine. And so it's important, I think, to engage in coaching with physicians by first listening to them, talk to them about what their perspective is on how they're engaging with their teams before just kind of hitting them straight up front with this is how people around you are feeling. Um, and help them to get engaged in the practice of medicine as a team sport rather than that of an individual sport.
Wow, yeah. I didn't think about it as a sport. That's a great analogy. How do you approach a physician who may need it? I know you've had a lot of experience with this where a physician might be taken aside because there's some issue going on.
Yeah.
How do you approach that physician?
You know, I love the example of a particular urologist that I helped to coach and mentor, a very talented surgeon. And he was very much oriented to being a high performer. He wanted to produce at the highest quality and to be very productive. And so everything that he did was around that. But what he didn't understand was that he wasn't interfacing well with his team. He was showing up as the individual athlete, wanting to perform that way on his own. So as I started doing some mentoring and some coaching, I had him round with me and to see, because critical care is very much a team sport, see how valuable it was to listen to those around us, to take their input, because people have all sorts of different perspectives. And it was very effective, I think, to approach coaching that way, of bringing him over into a different type of environment so that he could observe. And he was able to carry that back and practice in his own practice in the OR, which, if you think about it, is very much a team sport as well.
Right. That's a great example. So it's a physician learning from another physician, and so it doesn't have to be. He understands what you're doing, just because you're going through the motions of it, and it's not just somebody trying to tell someone how to do it. He's just learning by example. That's a
Yeah,
great.
it's one technique,
Hmm.
but I think that everyone's different,
Hmm.
and you'll have to use very different techniques for different people.
Yep.
In his case, because it was so much about not thinking out loud, not interacting with others, not explaining why he was doing what he was doing, that he just wasn't able to be as effective. And so when he was able to observe somebody as a physician operating as part of a team and being communicative and sharing and taking feedback in the moment from other team members, he was able to see value in it.
Right.
There may be other personalities that have a better experience with very direct feedback.
Right. I talk about this often with my friends, not really in public, but I thought this is important to bring up, and it's again can be very sensitive. So take it with a grain of salt, please, and don't be offended by this. But I think about the Asiana Airlines, and I don't know if you remember that incident where they almost had a uh,
Mhm.
crash landing, and there was a little conflict between the older pilot and the younger pilot, and it all had to do with communication, and it all has to do with the culture of how people are brought up in that country. And it's not I'm Korean, but I was brought up in the United States, but I do know from my cousins and from my family, and I have a ton of family still in Korea, that they study so hard in high school that they have no social life. People don't go do sports. People don't focus on all this extracurricular like we do in the United States. So then when you come out in college, they have trouble communicating. And there's this hierarchy where the younger pilot who knew what was wrong and wanted to tell the older pilot didn't, because of that hierarchical conflict. And you're not supposed to tell an older person how to do things. And so I feel like, as physicians, going through this rigorous training and having this medical training and coming out, because we haven't had the time to socialize in the same way as maybe our peers from, high school, that there is a disconnect in how we communicate with our employees.
Yeah, it's it's certainly something that is that culture in medicine and our training about the hierarchy and the the culture of trust doesn't really get taught to us early on,
Yeah.
at least not people my age or older. And so it's a mindset change, being able to, for example, that same urologist being very much an introvert and just kind of thinking to himself and not being able to engage with his teammates. And then think about the scrub techs in the OR being just like the pilot, being deferential, not wanting to call things to his attention that would have made a difference.
Yep. That's so true. And one book I really love that I read during my master's class that I recommend people read is called Employees First, Customer Second by Vinit Nair. And it talks about how this man, not in healthcare and IT, completely changed a failing IT company to one of the most successful companies in India, because he changed the focus from the customers to the employees. And the same thing as leaders, physician leaders, if we focus on our team, our employees, whatever team what environment you're in, they'll take care of the patients. Because you take care of the employees, you meet their needs where they're having frustrations, and then things start to work, and you really take care of your customers, the patients, even better.
Oh, for sure. I think that we thought that we had the right approach when we said it was patients first, do everything for the patient. But what we discovered is that we were violating a lot of the trust within our teams. We were doing workarounds to achieve the patient first mindset. And so I think that all industries really need to remember that it's about the teamwork. And if you have great teamwork, you will deliver excellent service to your customer, whether it's in the IT realm or in medicine.
Yep. And one last thing I want to say, and this is a great conversation. You have spoken about bringing, identifying people on your team and your organization who have great potential to be leaders. talk about what kind of results has happened as a result of you bringing them on board and say, you know what, let's mentor these people. Let's mentor these people that are in middle management, and let's see what happens. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that can translate to helping physicians be even better as leaders?
Yeah, I personally went through this curriculum where the organization identified people who were maybe promising leaders, weren't quite yet in leadership roles, and some who were in middle management. And we were all brought together to work together as a team. It wasn't just a group of physicians, it was from all areas of the organization. And so being able to cross pollinate and to understand each other's work, even though it was all for patient care, was so helpful and eye opening. It helped us to share different techniques or strategies that we had, and to understand each other's point of view. So it's been very powerful. We've continued it on as we call it lead 5, lead 4, lead 3. So on the level of leadership that one is in the organization, they bring together all the level 5 leaders so that they can do this type of learning and development. And it's pretty broad, the curriculum.
Hmm.
It's about public speaking, about how to analyze data. Um, it's none of it is really specific about healthcare delivery,
Okay.
but about all the tools that we need as team members to be able to lead a healthcare organization.
Right. So as a result of that, how many of those people who went through that program actually got promoted or moved up as leaders?
Yeah, so in my class, we did the analytics, and 30% of us were promoted internally, and 30% of us were promoted externally.
Wow.
So got higher level jobs in other organizations, not just in healthcare, because the grouping is so diverse. I think it's very successful if you think about not just retaining those employees, helping them to be more effective, and then promoting them on through the organization. So it helps to build that succession plan and that pipeline.
What about physician readiness? What if they're not in that mindset as the person who might have signed up for a coaching? Do you think that we can identify physicians who might not necessarily, we just need them to be better instead of we well, they have potential. I think every physician has potential, but there's a unmet need because that person is in a space where we need them to function better. Do you think there is a way to approach them? I think you spoke about one way, which is, physician to physician. But do you think that as a whole, as an organization, we can just go to groups of physicians, say, hey, here's coaching, and what do you think could happen there?
Well, I think our initial approach on coaching was that we were going to use it as a tool when somebody needed to be fixed. Somebody was acting out, and so let's send them to coaching. And
Okay.
it's been very effective for those individuals who needed some help, who identified through their behavior that they needed to be coached, and it was
Okay.
a physician to physician coaching. But we've
Got it.
evolved in our approach, and now all new employed physicians and APCs in our organization undergo relations training and coaching so that they arrive and quickly develop the tools uh, that one needs for better communication and better teamwork.
I love that. I love that. It's just onboarding. It's an onboarding process
Right.
for new physicians. I'm actually in the process of doing that in my organization as well. So thank you so much. This has been so fantastic. Do you have any final words about leadership training for physicians as we close?
I think that a lot of us have played sports, and the Olympics really had sports on my mind, which is why I use that analogy. But whether we did sports or not, we do need to remember that we have been coached all of our lives, and that coaching is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's a very useful technique in order for us to improve. So one should accept coaching and better yet, seek out coaching because we should be in the continuous learning model.
I love that. Thank you so much. It is something that we've been growing up with. We just didn't recognize it like that.
Yeah.
So it's all part of a spectrum of awareness of where you are, and having somebody look at you and say, "Hey, did you notice this?" And to continuously learn. So thank you so much. How can people reach out to you? They have some questions about what you do.
Yeah, so
Denise.
I am available on LinkedIn,
Okay.
Denise Gonzales, and I can also be reached at dgonzales7 at phs.org.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'll post that on the postings. Thank you so
Okay.
much, everybody. This is Dr. Elsie Coe with Lead Physician. Check us out at www.leadphysician.org, and also reach out to me if you have a story in physician leadership that we want to share on this platform so that we can improve physician burnout, satisfaction with their professional development, and get healthcare to be so much better in the U.S. I would love to hear from you. Thank you, everyone, and have a great Sunday. See you next week.
Bye-bye.